My name is Elena and I am 37 years old. I am a single mother to a beautiful 17-year-old daughter named Sofia. Sofia is my entire reason for existing. She is the reason I fought through every struggle and survived every storm. She is the reason I am sitting here today in my beautiful home telling you this story. But this story did not start here. It started in a cold basement 20 years ago. I was 17 years old when I found out I was pregnant. I was scared and confused and utterly alone. I told my parents that night. I sat them down at the kitchen table of our modest family home. My mother looked at me with disgust. My father slammed his fist on the table. He said, "You have disgraced this family. You are no longer our daughter. Get out of this house and never come back." I begged them to let me stay. I told them I was scared and I had nowhere to go. I told them I needed my family. My mother turned her back to me. My father pointed at the door. He said, "You made your bed. Now you will lie in it. Get out." I walked out of that house with nothing but a small bag and a broken heart. I walked down the street in the cold winter rain. I had no umbrella, no coat, no money, no friends, no family, no one to call. I was 17 years old and completely and utterly alone. I walked until my legs gave out. I sat on a park bench and cried for hours. I cried for my lost childhood. I cried for my unborn baby. I cried because my parents had thrown me away like garbage. I did not know where I would sleep that night. I did not know how I would eat. I did not know how I would survive. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "God, if you are real, please help me. I have nobody else." I did not receive a magical answer. I did not see a bright light, but I felt a small flicker of something. Strength, determination, survival. I made a promise to myself that night. I promised that I would never beg anyone for anything again. I promised that I would work harder than anyone had ever worked. I promised that I would build a life for my child, a life that my parents could never take away. I would prove them wrong. I would show them that I was not a disgrace. I would show them that I was strong. I would show them that I was worth something. That promise kept me alive through the darkest days of my life. I found a homeless shelter that night. They gave me a bed and a hot meal. It was not much, but it was something. It was hope. I stayed at the homeless shelter for 2 weeks. It was a crowded place filled with broken people, women who had lost their husbands, families who had lost their homes, young girls like me who had been thrown away by their families. We were all there for different reasons, but we were all the same. We were survivors. We were fighters. We were determined to make it through another day. I met a woman named Maria at the shelter. She was in her 40s and had been homeless for 3 years. She had lost everything when her husband died. She had no children and no family. She was completely alone. She took me under her wing. She showed me how to navigate the shelter system. She showed me where to get free food and clothes. She showed me how to stay safe. She told me, "You are young and strong. Do not let this place destroy you. You have a child to think about. You need to get out of here and build a life for yourself." I listened to her. I took her advice to heart. I started looking for a job the very next day. I walked to every restaurant and store in the area. I asked if they were hiring. I filled out application after application. I got rejected more times than I could count. But I did not give up. I kept going. I kept hoping. I kept believing. Finally, I found a job at a fast food restaurant. It was not glamorous. It paid minimum wage, but it was a job. It was a start. I worked the night shift from 6 in the evening until 2 in the morning. I slept during the day at the shelter. I saved every penny I earned. I did not buy anything for myself. I wore donated clothes and ate the leftovers from the restaurant. Everything I had went toward my future, toward my baby.
What my dream.
Maria was proud of me. She told me, "You are going to make it, kid. I can see it in your eyes." I believed her because I had to believe something. I had to believe that my life would get better. I had to believe that I was not destined to be homeless forever. I had to believe that my baby would have a better life than I did. I worked at that restaurant for 6 months. I saved enough money to rent a small room. It was tiny and cramped and infested with bugs, but it was mine. It was a roof over my head. It was a place to sleep. It was a start. I said goodbye to Maria and left the shelter. I cried when I left. She had been my only friend. She had been my only support. She had given me hope when I had none. I promised her I would come back and visit. I never saw her again. She left the shelter a few weeks later. I do not know where she went. I hope she found peace. I hope she found happiness. I hope she found the life she deserved. She was a good person. She had a kind heart. She deserved better than what life had given her. I think about her often. She was the first person who believed in me. She was the first person who showed me kindness when I had nothing. I owe her so much. Without her, I might have given up. I might have let the darkness consume me. But Tadashi showed me a light, and I followed it. Sophia was born on a cold November morning. I was 18 years old and completely alone in the delivery room. The nurses were kind to me. They held my hand and told me I was doing a good job, but I wished my mother was there. I wished my father was there. I wished someone from my family was there to see my beautiful baby girl. But they were not. They had made their choice. They had chosen pride over family. They had chosen to abandon their own daughter and granddaughter. I looked at Sophia's tiny face, and I made another promise. I promised that I would never abandon her. I promised that I would give her everything I never had. I promised that she would never feel the pain of rejection that I had felt. I took Sophia home to my tiny apartment. I had bought a crib from a second-hand store. I had a few onesies and diapers. That was all we had. But we had love. We had hope. We had each other. I went back to work 2 weeks after giving birth. I could not afford to take time off. I had bills to pay and a child to feed. I worked 3 jobs. I worked at the fast food restaurant during the day. I cleaned offices at night. I babysat on the weekends. I was exhausted. I was sleep deprived. I was running on pure willpower. But I did it for Sophia. I did it so she would never have to sleep on a park bench. I did it so she would never have to eat from a garbage can. I did it so she would never feel the shame that I had felt. I saved every single penny. I did not buy new clothes. I did not eat out. I did not go to the movies. I did not have a social life. My entire existence revolved around work and Sophia, and I was okay with that, because every dollar I saved was a step closer to a better life. Every dollar was a brick in the foundation of our future. When Sophia was 4 years old, I started a small cleaning business. I had been cleaning offices for years. I knew the industry. I knew the clients. I knew I could do it better on my own. I bought some supplies and started advertising. I knocked on doors and handed out flyers. I worked harder than anyone else. I showed up on time. I did a thorough job. I was reliable and honest. Slowly, my business started to grow. I hired other single mothers to work with me. I wanted to give them the same opportunity that I had been given. I wanted to lift others up. I wanted to create a community of strong women. My business grew and grew. I was no longer just surviving. I was thriving. I was building something beautiful. And I was doing it all alone. No family, no support, no safety net. Just me and my determination. By the time Sophia was 10 years old, my cleaning business had grown into a full-service janitorial company. I had over 50 employees and dozens of contracts with large corporations. I was making more money than I had ever dreamed possible. I bought a beautiful house, a big house with a garden and a swing. Set for Sophia. I bought new furniture and new clothes. I bought a reliable car. I gave Sophia everything she had ever wanted. But I never forgot where I came from. I never forgot the park bench and the homeless shelter. I never forgot the cold winter night when I had nothing and no one. I never forgot the look on my parents' faces when they threw me out. I visited them once. I went back to my childhood home. It had been 15 years. I wanted to see them. I wanted to show them what I had become. I wanted them to see that I was not a disgrace. I was a successful businesswoman and a devoted mother. I knocked on the door and my mother answered. She looked older and tired. She did not recognize me at first. When she did, she started crying. She said, "Elena, is that really you?" I said yes. She hugged me and cried harder. My father came to the door. He did not cry. He just looked at me with a mixture of shame and regret. He said, "You have done well for yourself." I said, "I had to. You gave me no choice." They invited me in. I sat in the same kitchen where they had thrown me out. I looked around at the familiar walls. So many memories. So much pain. I asked about their lives. They told me they had fallen on hard times. My father had lost his job. They had lost the house. They were living in a small rental now. They had nothing left. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt sorry for them. Part of me felt vindicated. They had thrown me out because they thought I was a disgrace, and now they had nothing. I was not happy about their suffering. I was not sad either. I was just indifferent. I had moved on. I had built my own life. I no longer needed their approval. I no longer needed their love. I had found my own peace. I left their house that day and never went back. I did not hate them. I did not wish them harm. I just did not care anymore. I had closed that chapter of my life. I had healed a wound that had been open for 15 years. I had finally let go of the pain. I had finally moved on. A few years later, I heard that my childhood home was being sold. The bank had foreclosed on it. My parents had lost it completely. I decided to buy it. I do not know why. Maybe it was closure. Maybe it was justice. Maybe it was just a business decision. But I bought the house that had rejected me. I bought the house where I had been thrown out. I bought the house that had caused me so much pain. It was not a sentimental purchase. It was a statement. A statement that I had overcome everything. A statement that I was no longer the scared 17-year-old girl who had been thrown out in the rain. I was a successful businesswoman who could afford to buy whatever she wanted. I renovated the house. I tore down the old walls and rebuilt them. I painted it bright colors. I filled it with new furniture. I made it beautiful. I made it mine. I invited my parents to see it. I wanted them to see what I had done. I wanted them to see that their rejection had not broken me. It had made me stronger. My mother cried when she saw the house. My father stood in silence. He looked at the walls and the furniture and the garden. He said, "You did all this by yourself?" I said, "Yes, I did it all by myself. No one helped me. No one believed in me. But I believed in myself, and that was enough." He did not say anything else. I think he finally understood what he had lost. He had lost his daughter. He had lost his granddaughter. He had lost the chance to be part of our lives, and now he had nothing. I did not feel sorry for him. I did not feel happy either. I just felt peace. I had closed a chapter of my life. I had healed a wound that had been open for 20 years. I had finally let go of the pain. I had finally moved on. I looked at my childhood home and I felt a sense of closure. I had come full circle. I had returned to the place that had rejected me. But now I owned it. I had control over it. I had power over it. And that was the most beautiful feeling in the world. I had turned my pain into power. I had turned my rejection into triumph. I had proven that I was not a victim. I was a survivor. I was a conqueror. And nothing could ever take that away from me. I spent 6 months renovating that house. I wanted to transform it from a place of pain into a place of peace. I tore down the walls of the room where I had cried myself to sleep. I replaced the floor where I had been humiliated. I painted the kitchen where my parents had disowned me. Every room had a memory. Every room had a story. Every room had a wound. I healed each one with my own hands. I hired a team of workers to help me. They were kind and respectful. They did not ask questions about why I was renovating the house. They just did their jobs. But I could see the curiosity in their eyes. I did not explain myself to them. I did not need to. This was my journey. This was my healing. I chose every color carefully. I chose warm and bright colors. I wanted the house to feel alive. I wanted it to feel happy. I wanted it to feel like a home. I filled it with flowers and plants. I filled it with art and photographs. I filled it with love. When the renovations were finished, I stood in the middle of the living room and I cried. I cried because I had done it. I had transformed the house of my nightmares into the house of my dreams. I cried because I had proven that I was stronger than my past. I cried because I had finally healed. I invited Sofia to see the house. She walked through the rooms and she smiled. She said, "It is beautiful, Mom. It feels like a happy place." I hugged her and said, "It is a happy place, baby, because we are here, because we are together, because we are a family." Sofia asked me about the house. She asked me why I had bought it. She did not know the story. She did not know about the rejection and the pain. I told her the truth. I told her that this was the house where I grew up. I told her that my parents had thrown me out when I was 17. I told her that I had been homeless and pregnant and alone. She looked at me with wide eyes. She said, "You went through all that, Mom?" I said yes. She hugged me and said, "You are so strong. I am so proud of you." That moment was worth every struggle. That moment was worth every tear. That moment was worth every sleepless night. My daughter was proud of me, and that was all that mattered. Sofia grew up in that house. She went to school and made friends and had a normal childhood. She did not know the darkness that her mother had endured. She only knew the light. She only knew the love. She only knew the safety. I made sure of that. I had broken the cycle of pain. I had given her the childhood I never had. That was my greatest achievement. Sofia is 17 now. She is the same age I was when I got pregnant. She is smart and ambitious and full of dreams. She wants to go to college and become a doctor. She wants to help people. She wants to make a difference. I am so proud of her. She has no idea what I went through to give her this life. She has no idea about the park benches and the garbage cans. She has no idea about the sleepless nights and the exhaustion. She has no idea about the rejection and the pain. And that is exactly how I want it. I want her to have a childhood that I never had. I want her to feel safe and loved and secure. I want her to know that she can achieve anything she sets her mind to. I tell her my story sometimes. I tell her about the struggles and the sacrifices. I tell her about the homeless shelter and the 3 jobs. She looks at me with wide eyes and says, "You are so strong, Mom. I want to be like you." I hug her and say, "You already are, baby. You already are." I look at my life and I feel grateful. I have a beautiful daughter. I have a successful business. I have a beautiful home. I have peace. I have closure. I have everything I ever wanted. I have forgiven my parents, not for them, for me, because holding on to anger was destroying me. I had to let it go. I had to move on. I had to heal. I have learned that rejection is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the beginning of something better. It is the beginning of discovering who you truly are. It is the beginning of building your own path. I want every single person watching this to know something. No matter how hard life gets, do not give up. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep believing. Your breakthrough is coming. Your miracle is on the way. Then one day you will look back and smile. You will realize that every struggle was worth it. Every tear was worth it. Every sleepless night was worth it. Because you made it. You survived. You thrived. And that is the most beautiful victory of all. My parents rejected me, but I did not reject myself. I believed in myself when no one else did, and that made all the difference. I own the house that once rejected me. I own the life that once seemed impossible. I own my future, and I am so proud of who I have become. I look at Sofia and I see my reflection. I see strength. I see resilience. I see hope. She is everything I ever wanted to be. She is everything I ever dreamed of. She is my greatest achievement. She is my reason for everything. I will never let anyone hurt her. I will protect her with everything I have. I will give her the life she deserves, and I will never break a promise to her. because that is what a good mother does. That is what love looks like. That is what strength feels like. This is my story. This is my truth. And I am sharing it with you so that you can find your own strength, so that you can find your own voice, so that you can find your own path, because you deserve it. You deserve happiness. You deserve success. You deserve love. And you will have all of it. Just keep going. Just keep believing. Just keep fighting. And one day you will look back and say, I did it. I made it. And I am so proud of myself. That day will come. I promise you, it will come. So hold on. Hold on tight, because the best is yet to come. And when it does, you will be ready. You will be ready to receive it with open arms and a grateful heart. You will be ready to live the life you always dreamed of. You will be ready to be the person you were always meant to be. I believe in you. I believe in your strength. I believe in your future. Now go out there and make it happen. Because you can. Because you will. Because you are unstoppable. My parents threw me out because they thought I was a disgrace. They thought I would fail. They thought I would end up broken on the streets. They were wrong. I built an empire from nothing. I raised a beautiful daughter. I created a life of purpose and meaning. I proved that I was not a disgrace. I was a warrior. I was a fighter. I was a survivor. And now I own the house that once rejected me. Now I own the life that once seemed impossible. Now I own my future. And that is the most beautiful victory of all.